Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Tonight we got my son's 2002 Camaro in here. It's got the GM 3800 V6. It's running just the 4-speed 4L60E transmission. The interior is pretty clean. Picked this whole car up for about $700 because the engine had a rod knock and we swapped the motor. It's got the T-tops.
Notice the T-top.
It's in here tonight because the transmission smoked. Kind of knew it when we swapped the motor and it finally just let go about a month ago. So I got a fresh junkyard pull sitting over there and we're going to get it swapped out. All right, hang out. Here we go. In case you've never been underneath one of these cars before and you're curious, 3rd and 4th gen Camaros use this torque arm system. I'm trying to get my light here set up. Use this torque arm system. Now that's this whole beam. Goes all the way down and connects up here to the back of the transmission. Seal that I replaced is leaking, that's nice. Anyway, it's just kind of cool. It kind of keeps the rear end from turning when it's under load. So that's got to come off. We've got to pull the drive shaft, which is just paralleling that right here. Sorry, I'm trying to look in the viewfinder here and get this all together. I think I'm going to clear the exhaust. If I remember correctly, I think I just undo these bolts and pull this gear off the back, unplug some stuff, and then once I get all this stuff in the back pulled off, it's going to come down to unplugging stuff, undoing the transmission cooler lines, which I may need to drop the exhaust for just to get access, and then bell housing bolts and, well, torque converter bolts first, then bell housing bolts, and then the whole thing should come right down. So I guess we'll just get started. I don't know how much of under here I'm going to film just because it's going to be kind of tight and cramped, and I might just pick it up here and there and give you updates as I'm working. All right, here we go. We're starting back here at the rear end. The drive shaft hooks up. I'm going to grab that and then we'll move on to the torque arm. I guess I didn't mention it, but if you're doing this, make sure and put the car in neutral so you can turn the drive shaft. And just taking these little caps off. So I just kind of slide this forward a little bit, drop it down, and it slides out of the back of the transmission. All right, these stock torque arms are 13/16. Make sure I'm right. Yeah, 13/16. And it's just 2 big bolts. Normally, I try to support the rear end here because it's going to want to do all kinds of freaky things. Yeah, let's support the rear end. Have the jack out. We're getting ready to take the torque arm off. Just these 2 big bolts that go all the way through the top. If you're doing this, just a word to the wise, probably get something under this rear end and support it. It's not like it's going to fly off of here and hit you or anything nuts, but your rear springs are being held in with tension and they could fall out. If you got this rear end at full droop, you could actually reach in and just swap the springs. I've done it a bunch of times. In this case, I just want everything to line back up. Still, it's probably going to be a little bit of a fight just knocking these out of there because this is going to be under some kind of tension right here. So if you've got this supported, that kind of helps alleviate that. Let's see how we do. I don't know if this impact's going to have enough beams to get this done. Oh, guess so. Win for Milwaukee. Every tool has a hammer side. I was really stuck in there. Yeah, piece of cake. Look, this first one just wants to jump right out. Oh, they both want to jump out. Guess I did an okay job of supporting the rear end. Now comes the fun part of trying to work this out from the front. All that repositioning, so you can see what I'm talking about. I got you mounted to a cross member that I'm going to wind up taking out, but for now this will work. It might be kind of hard to even tell what the hell you're even looking at, but this is the rear of the transmission. The drive shaft slid in to this spot here. Just basically slid it out and put it on the floor. Here's the other end of the torque arm right here. It's got this little, this just your transmission vent hose just clipped on there. I'll clip that since that's gotta go. Anyway, here's where the torque arm just slides into this rubber bushing here. I'm gonna try to jerk it loose from the rear and pull it back this way. Might have to get up in there and loosen some bolts. We'll see. Sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. I'm trying to remember. We had this one out before, so it might not be that big of a fight. See if I can do it without hitting myself in the face. That'd be really nice too. Let's get a pounding apparatus. Smack it with a dead blow and see if that does anything. Are we moving? It's probably easier if I just take all the other parts off first, but set that over there out of the way. And if I do this right and play my cards right, I won't have to take all this hibachi off until I get it on the floor, and we'll transfer all that over to the new transmission. Just gonna unplug. Here's a plug for this O2 sensor here. We'll unplug that. That'll come out with the exhaust. Let's get started on that. All right, next up is this little cross member guy. Probably wouldn't have had to remove it otherwise, except for I need to undo this exhaust clamp up here. You'll see once I get it off of there. Remember, I think they're halves. Yep. Go ahead and drop that on the floor and make as much noise as possible. And now I gotta figure out what size these are. Looks like the 15 millimeter is gonna take it. Alright, that's loose. And then we got some guys over here on this hanger. Let's move around here. I'm looking at these guys. Let's see, I don't really have a good spot to put you where you can see. Basically, there's just, you can see this one here. There's another one identical up above it. I'll knock those out of there. Give me my wrench. Alright, that hanger's loose. There's a little plug here for the O2 sensor. It's got a little lock tab you gotta pull out first. And just kind of lift and push. It should come out of there. There we go. O2 sensor can go with that now. I'm looking at the exhaust flanges. Yeah, they're half. Where they hook up to the exhaust manifolds. We grab an extension, I'll get you guys repositioning, see what I'm doing there. All right, I got 2 bolts, one here, one over here. I actually ended up replacing those because they were pretty corroded when we took out the engine. But this will just make it a lot easier because I'm gonna have to get, you can't see it, but facing this way, I'm gonna have to get up in here to pull this cover off so that way I can access the torque converter bolts. I can't remember if I'm gonna have to pull the starter or not, but let's just pray that I don't, because that's kind of a pain in the butt. Let's see if I can get these off without, I'm probably gonna have to get a wrench on the other side. That one didn't want to fight, although it hung on to the, yeah, that's probably gonna fight. Actually, it's got a washer up in there, it's like it sucked the washer in, so probably gonna have to smack it with a mallet. There we go. That one wanted to come out. How about this little guy? Yep. Didn't want to play that bad. All right, we'll leave those. I'm gonna go over and do the other side. It looks exactly the same. Stand by. Well, I don't know what I was thinking. I am gonna have to pull the starter. Mainly, the starter itself isn't the problem. It's just this stupid heat shielding that is around it. I guess it's not even that big. It's 3 bolts. It's just getting up here to this one on the top is a major pain in the butt. But I gotta pull the starter out because there's these support brackets on both sides. They run all the way up and attach to like the first bolt on the engine mount. So I gotta loosen the engine mount bolt to slide that out because it's got this metal, it's like a little thin piece of metal cover here, dust cover, sandwiched in between. And I need to remove that so that I can get to the torque converter bolts. Let's see, over here's where your shifter connects. Usually they pop off. I gotta use a screwdriver on this, so we'll pry that off of there. But it's just a little ball thing. It just pops right off. We'll let that hang. And then I've got to undo the bracket for that here. I think I'm just gonna get started on this starter. No pun intended. So I've complained about it before, but something about GM cars of this era, it's like made up of partially standard bolts and partially metric. It's like the weirdest thing, man. It's like you've got a half here and 2 10s, 10 millimeters, holding the rest of it on. It's a little bit ridiculous. It's like, you know, pick one. This cover was pretty loose right there, so I thought the one on the top was a 10, maybe it's a half. I think it's a half, actually. Bear with me, it's been a minute, I don't remember it all. Oh yeah, she's a half, but I'm gonna have to go get a shorty socket because I don't think I can get in there with the exhaust manifold. This is why I was like not really wanting to do this because it's just, I know it's a pain in the butt to just get this stupid dust cover or heat shield off. Oh my god. Can't even tell if I'm on it, honestly. Oh, there we go. Seems like it's kind of doing something. Maybe. I guess I can zip this one off. Get a win of some sort. It feels like it's a half. I think the other part too is, if I remember right, this bolt is like one of these weird like rounded head bolts, you know, it's like just meant to be perfectly aggravating. Let's see if I can get on there. That was easy. And now I gotta knock this bolt out of the socket. Yeah, it's just like what I was thinking. Oh, well, this light's not gonna help. But it's, see how it's kind of rounded? Sorry, try looking at the viewfinder. It's kind of rounded on the top. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Get a wrench on with those. Thanks, GM. It might just be easier to undo it and drop it down, but for now we need to undo these other connectors because they're all tied to the same harness. So there's a knock sensor connector. Pull that off. Knock sensor, this is your oil level sensor. I need a pick to get it on that one. Let's see. Flip this tab up. And so those are free and swinging. You can't see what I'm doing, but basically I'm disconnecting the main power feed to the starter. I got my socket all the way up there already. And we're just gonna undo the bolt on the back and take it down. There we go. Oh, can I turn it by hand? The answer is absolutely not. Isn't this magical? Hopefully you guys didn't have to sit there and watch all that. Hopefully in editing I put it in turbo mode. There we go. Disconnect the battery before you do this, kids. In case you're wondering why the camera cut. That's because I had a little bit of a lighting show under here. When I grounded my wrench out to the side of the car because...
Beavis, you're a dumbass.
I forgot to disconnect the battery. But we're all good now. Everything's disconnected. We'll try a 15 before I walk over to the... 15's it. Again, just go ahead and throw all your stuff on the floor there. All right. Alrighty, I'll just try to work this thing out. There we go. And that should free us up. Now, I'm glad I took that off because, yeah, here, I'll show you. You can see this housing, or this metal cover that I've got to take off. It's just this little screw here. It's sandwiched between these. I got to take these off all the way across, and there's another one of these on the other side. And this whole piece of tin just falls out of there. And then we can get in there and get the torque converter bolts. Okay, as stated earlier, these are those little braces I was telling you about. That, now this one's the driver's side, just a second. This is the brace I was telling you about. I made a little note on there so I don't mix it up with the other side, but I'll just dump those on the floor. That one too, what the hell. Basically, it slid into this part of the transmission right here, and then the rest of it goes up in here, but it sandwiches between the engine mount. It's hard to see up there, and it's under quite a bit of tension getting it out of there. I had to hook it up to a slide hammer and get it loose, but they're out. So I just got 2 tins, and this piece of tin comes out. There it goes, and now we can see our torque converter bolts. So those are coming out right now. Alright, that's all 3 of the torque converter bolts out. It's spinning free of the torque converter now. I think we just got bell housing bolts. I'm trying to remember, I feel like there's 4 of those up top, minus the 2 that we already took out here. And then this cross member that's holding it. So I'm going to get over here with the jack, I'm going to support it, and then start trying to lower it down a little bit. So that I can get to the top and undo the plugs. There's a few electrical connections up there. I also need to undo these transmission cooler lines. All right, here we go. Okay, update. I knew I wasn't going to get out of this without splashing a bunch of transmission fluid all over the place. This is where I probably should have taken the pan off and drained it. The dipstick, everything is loose. I got it all free, but the dipstick is bolted to the back of the head, and the head, I don't even think I can show you, but the head is smashed up against the firewall. So there's no way I'm getting a wrench or my fat meat nugget hands up in there to try to undo that. So I started just pulling the transmission, and I was just going to let the dipstick hang. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. Of course, all the fluids are up against the dipstick hole, so now we're making a mess. Anyway, I'll have it out in just a minute. That's the saga of removing the 4L60E from your V6 2002 Camaro. I thought I'd get you a shot of what it looks like behind the engine once the transmission's out. This is like where you're gonna fight the most, is up here. These 2 straps actually go on the outside of the transmission bell housing. and they're holding this big harness across the back of the engine. Now when you go to take these out, the bolts are going to hang up on these and you're going to be fighting them with no room, and so just heads up on that. This one over here off to the right is actually a nut and bolt setup, and then you've got bolts all the way back around over here. This particular dowel pin actually has a bolt that goes through it, and then the rest is being held with those braces that I showed you earlier. Pretty basic setup. I mean, if you've never had a transmission out of a car and you were curious what it looks like, now you know. What else I do? Oh, so off camera, I went ahead and put in a new filter and gasket and cleaned up the pan on this, so that's all done and installed. And I put in a new tail shaft seal, and I actually pulled out the torque converter and put a new seal in there. I think I've got everything transferred over. I got the cross member and all this F-body hardware for the torque arm and the exhaust hanger and stuff. And there seems to be like this big giant weight right here. I don't know if that's a weight or what that's for. Kind of interesting, big chunk of metal that hangs on the back here, but got it all back in here and installed. I think we're ready to slam this thing back up in the car. All right, here we go. And that's the transmission in. I just need to do everything you saw me do in the beginning, taking things off in reverse. So we'll do exhaust, shifter, and then the drive shaft and torque arm. And then I'll be back. I'm not gonna film that part. It's just the same thing you just watched me do in reverse. Then it'll be time to go up and start filling it with fluid and run it through the gears. And then she should be back in business. All right, everybody, time for another update. So what you're looking at here is the transmission that I just put in. It turns out the junkyard one is smoked. Wouldn't shift all the way through all the gears without slipping. I couldn't get the car to go over 50.
I'm trying, this car sucks!
I only gave a couple $100 for this transmission. Good news is the junkyard offers a warranty. They were very quick to locate me another transmission, get it shipped to the wrecking yard nearest me. And all I gotta do is return this one and pick up the other one. Hopefully that one will work. It'll be a couple of days for me and just about a second for you. In the next clip, I'm hopefully gonna be filling this thing up and test driving it, and fingers crossed it all goes well and we can wrap up this video. And here comes another update. Why are you showing us this scene again, Mark? Oh, that's because I just took the transmission out for the third time.
Counting sucks.
Basically, first transmission the junkyard gave me was smoked, so they exchanged it. I put this one in. This one's smoked as well. Yeah, this is frustrating. Anyway, just thought I'd give you an update and whine about it. All right. I'm not really sure how this video is going to turn out. It's been a couple of days since I've been able to work on this. I had to wait. What we're looking at now is the third 4L60E transmission from the junkyard. This one is already looking promising. I've got it flipped over upside down right now because I'm going to replace the pan gasket and the filter since the junkyard already drained it. Anyway, I went ahead and pulled the pan off, and I'll show you what I found. So that's the internal workings, but here's the big thing. So on the transmission that was originally in the car, and the other two that I ended up getting and returning, when I pulled the pan off, there was a layer of sludge across the bottom of this. And I mean like metally sludge, like clutch material burned up for good kind of setup. This one is damn clean. All you're seeing here is just old fluid that dripped into the pan. So far, it's pretty promising. Now, there is some material on this magnet, and I'm going to clean all that off. But that little tiny amount of material on there, I know from experience, is absolutely normal. Like just a little tiny bit up on there, totally fine. But if it's all up in here, this thing's not going to live long. I'm actually kind of excited. Hopefully this will be the last time I do this install. I guess there's nothing left to it but to do it. So let's rock. All right, I went ahead and torqued these all down to 108 inch-pounds. There's a couple schools of thought. I'm sure some guys just put it on dry with the gasket. This is just one of those things. It's like right there underneath the car. Yeah, I could probably just put it on the lift and redo this over and over, but I don't really want to. My experience has been every time I don't put RTV on this, I end up with some sort of slow leak, and it's really irritating. And then you got to take this whole thing off. Half the time it destroys the gasket, or you can't ever get all the oil off the gasket, so you can't ever really get a good clean seal. So why risk it? I just do the RTV. Basically, it's an RTV sandwich, and some of it squishes out the sides, and you just wipe it off, and it's good to go. Gaskets in, filters in. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the output shaft seal and the torque converter seal. I've got to take it off the engine stand and suspend it from the crane to do the torque converter seal. So hang in there with me. You know what? I'm actually looking at this rear seal, and it's not leaking. It's in really good shape. And plus the one I got from Napa, it says it fits this model automatic, but the boot protrudes, which I don't think is that big of a deal. I mean, it's probably really nice actually. But I might save this. I might just hang on to this and we'll just watch this, because I can actually change this when it's in the car pretty easy. So I think I'm just gonna leave this one for now. We'll move on to the torque converter one. Well, this is the end of the Camaro saga. To review, 3 transmissions later, third one was the charm. And so we got it in there and it's up and running. Did run into some other issues. Ended up having to replace the downstream O2 sensor. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that it was old and I kept taking the pipe in and out of the car with the O2 sensor on it multiple times and just dropping it on the floor. I'm sure that probably wasn't helpful. Basically, when I hooked up the scan tool, it was obvious it wasn't reading anymore and it left the chat. So Anyway, ended up replacing that, and now she's good. It's running good. I didn't film the fluid fill process. I would recommend that if you're doing this type of work, that you maybe check into the process on your own. Every transmission's a little bit different. They have different fill procedures. Manufacturers will kind of tell you how. In this case, this one has it written right on the dipstick. I don't know if you probably won't be able to read it, but basically it says check in park, engine idling. I can't read the rest of it. And it tells you use Dextron 3 only and all such stuff. So basically, I just, without the engine running, I will fill it to the cold mark on the bottom of the dipstick, start up the motor while the engine's getting up to operating temp. I'll fill it until it gets to the hot mark, and then I hop in, run it through all the gears, and then come back out and top it off, and then take it for a drive. That was my process, so make sure and follow whatever the manufacturer recommendations are. This one took me a little longer. It was a little bit of a surprise having to go in and out with the transmissions, but I'll tell you what, I got awesome at installing and uninstalling the transmissions in these cars. By the time I got to this third one, it was in and out in probably 2 hours. So appreciate everyone watching. We'll catch you on the next one.